Hello class. So in this video I'm going to show you how to just paint on materials in Revit. Again, you can build your model just using generic walls, floors, ceilings, etc., etc., and then paint on the material since this is mainly a rendering and presentation course. So the first step is I want to show you how to create new materials in Revit. And painting them on is pretty easily done. So what you're gonna do is, you can see I've already have this set up. I've gone to my Manage tab and I'm going to go to Materials. And for the houses that most everyone has, you can choose your materials a little bit, but they're all fairly standard. There's going to be some siding, probably painted some color, in a roof. I like standing seam metal roof. So we might go with that. So I'm going to show those two materials. If you need to change anything else, you can go ahead and follow the same basic steps to doing whatever you need to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to assume that I'm going to have to create a new material in Revit from the standard ones. So this is usually the best way to work. So I'm going to say new material, and we can see default new material came up, and I can right click on this to rename it, and I can call this one siding if that's what I want to call it. That's what we're working on. So I'm going to do siding, and then now this is it's very generic right now, but there's a lot of presets Revit has that can make starting fresh pretty easy. So to get those presets, I need to hit this button down here called the Asset Browser. I'm going to open that up, and I'm going to type in what I might need. So in this case, I can start by typing in siding, and we can see siding appears, and I can either hit siding here or I can hit siding here. This one has a long list, so I'm going to start from this one. And just a quick browse through. Again, you get to make your own choices to a certain degree. You have to make sure it looks good, so you don't have to pick the exact same one. But we can see we have 4-inch horizontal, 6-inch beige. Some of the colors you're going to find don't really matter too much. I'm going to show you how to fix that in a minute. If I scroll down, you have different kinds of siding, including vertical. So I'm assuming that some people will be working with vertical siding, as I have. So you have lots of choices to choose from, and you can go ahead and pick what you want. But just for generic sake, I'm going to pick this horizontal 6-inch beige. And when I click on it, you can see, or just hover over it, we can see we get these two little arrows there. That if I click this, that's going to, you didn't really see it, but what it did is it took this material I'm currently on, and it put all the settings to match it. So I'm going to close this down for now just to get off my screen. We can see where, if I scroll down, we're on the siding material that I already made. And so if yours isn't coming up as the Appearance tab, click on it here, and we can see you can get a little preview of the siding material. Now, in previous videos, and even in this class, you've gone over materials in Photoshop, we've gone over materials in SketchUp, and to a certain extent, Revit works very much the same way. It deals with bump maps, transparency maps, reflection maps, all those sorts of things similarly. The interface is different. I'm not necessarily expecting you to go into that interface for this particular assignment, but if you want to, you're free to go through all these settings and play with them. But they're essentially the same things. The interface is just different. However, I do want to show you, since most of you have chosen colors and other things for your assignment, that you might need a little bit of direction on that at the very least. So this is just sort of it's called beige or white. So if I want to change it to color, I can do a couple things. First, I can click that colored bar I just did right here, and then it brings up this. And if you've already done it in other assignments, so if you have an RGB value or hue, saturation, illumination, you can go in and put in those colors. Alternatively, you can move this around to sort of pick the color of the house you want. I'm just, for whatever reason, going to go with this blue for now, and I'm going to say OK. And we can see that in this case it hasn't much changed our preview much, although sometimes in rendering it will affect it. Now, one of the reasons is that really it's because this image in this case is defining this beige color wood. But if I'm painting wood, it probably loses all of the sort of the detail of the wood grain itself, which is perfectly fine. So I'm going to right click over top of this and just say remove image. And we'll give this a second, and when I remove the image, we can see the box has become that color blue because now that image isn't being overridden. Now we do see, if you look closely, and I don't know if it's quite visible on YouTube, but if you look closely, you actually can see the little ridges of the siding in effect because there's a bump map on here already, and so the bump map's taking care of that. So I'm good to go, and I can start applying this if I needed to. But before I go and say apply, actually, yeah, before I go and say apply, I should show you how to make the roof, I think. So let me jump back into materials. I'm just going to do the same steps again. I just want to show you how to build the asset to show a standing seam metal roof. So I'm going to click this button here, create new material. I'm going to right click over top of it and say rename and call it, oops, I don't know what I just did. I think I deleted it by accident. My mistake. Let me create new material again. Right click and go rename. There we go, and call it roof. And you might, if you have different sidings and different roof colors, you might need to give it some cue like roof 1 or roof blue or whatever the case might be. Anyway, there's my roof. I'm going to click this button. Oh, this name is already in use. I might have already put this in here or already, so let me rename it again. Roof 2. Okay. Roof 2. Where's roof 2? Roof 2. Here we go. So I'm going to click on roof 2. I'm going to select assets. I'm going to just type in roof up here. Let AutoCAD find it. I can click roofing down here, and I just generally know that there's a standing seam metal roof down here near the bottom. That's a pretty good one. So I'm going to click on this or hover over it and click these two arrows, and we're going to get a little preview here. And this one's pretty easy because, again, you might have already chosen colors. So I'm just going to, whatever color you need to do, you get to decide. I'll just sort of be silly here and pick orange and say OK. And we can see when I pick the color, it's got that color in here. And it's already got a relief pattern and everything else. You can, I don't know if you can quite see it again in YouTube, but you can see it's got the standing seams already built in. So we can say OK. And so I'll end the video here because I think those are the two most important materials. If you have other materials, it's the same sort of thing. Find it, edit the color as needed. I'll follow up in the next video on sort of painting the materials on this building.